Awesome.
So it's
Okay.
8 o'clock.
Yep. Laura, do you want to pray us in?
Okay. Daily spiritual protection. I cleanse my energy field with love and intention. I seal my aura from all intrusive forces. I return all energy that isn't mine. I cut cords with anything draining my spirit. I trust my intuition to guide me safely. I stand in my power, fully protected. I call back my energy from all timelines. I shield my home with light and truth. I reject manipulation in all forms. I declare I am safe, sovereign, and spiritually guided always. So be it, and so it is.
Amen.
Wow, thank you. That was beautiful.
I love that. I saved it. I saw it somewhere and I saved it.
Nice.
Good say. Well, before we get started with the interview, I'd like to remind everybody I got a puppy in the office that's crawling all over me. The reminder really is about
Can you come a little closer to the mic, Charlie?
Yeah, having a little bit of hard time hearing you,
telling
Charlie.
my little puppy, no, it's tearing my clothes. No, the reminder is celebrated in a lot of the world today is Palm Sunday. And of course, the meaning of Palm Sunday is the celebration of Jesus coming into Jerusalem and the throwing palms in his pathway, which is like when we put the red carpet out for celebrities. Which brings us to our subject today is really Jesus is all about honoring the presence of God within him. A lot of people didn't quite get that. But that's what our ministry is about. And today we have the privilege, I have the privilege of interviewing Olevia Hobbs, who's a recent member of our community, so that we all have a sense of who she is and what she's about. And so, Olevia, I would like to begin with, I know you like how you got there, and I mean like where you were born and who your parents are, where you got your start.
I was born in Groton, Connecticut. I grew up in a town, very small town, an hour out of Buffalo and Rochester, called Fillmore. Spent most of my grade school years there. In middle school, I moved to Connecticut, then back to New York, and then have been in Connecticut since. My parents live in Florida. They're still very much part of my life. They're interesting characters. My grandfather on my father's side was a pastor. So I grew up in a very Christian home. My mom was home a lot, but our relationship isn't like a typical mother-daughter relationship. It's gotten better over the years, but I'm very much my father's daughter.
So, growing up, would you say your father was more influential in your upbringing?
He was former military. He was Navy. So he's very routine, and I thrive with routine. I'm very good when I have a set schedule to go, okay, I'm doing this, and this, and then I'm going to continue on with my day. But these things need to be done first. And I definitely got that from him, where it's a prioritize your day and then move from there.
Wow, that certainly gives you a lot of insight into who you are and what you're about. So why do you do what you do?
I am predominantly a Reiki practitioner. And I love helping people. I really enjoy helping people. I met Paula because I was in school to become a medical assistant. Um, I had originally gone to the school to do massage therapy, so I could include that with Reiki. But at the time, it was just not a field that seemed to be going anywhere. So I leaned towards the medical assisting, which is definitely thriving in its own right, but I'm no longer in it because there's too much. It drained too much of my energy.
And doing massage. Doing massage, is that what drains your energy?
No, medical assisting.
Or medical
So
system?
yes.
So when you do massage or Reiki, uh, you rediscovered your use of energy, I presume. Is that correct?
Yes. When I do Reiki, because it's not my energy, it's it's comforting. It's nice. I like the fact that I can bring calm and relaxation to somebody else, even without the massage, because I'm not trained in massage, so I don't do that. But the Reiki aspect, I absolutely love that. The conversations that I've had after sessions where people do feel so much better. I have one client that is remission in with cancer, and the conversations that we've had, we do Reiki before all of her treatments, and there's always every time she's had a session prior to, she bounces back faster, she feels better, she sleeps better, it takes better. The times that she hasn't had a session before, it takes that little bit longer to just get back to feeling normal. So it's a great feeling to know that you can help someone.
So feel and understand that you definitely make a difference, right?
Yes.
I got my hearing aid up very high, so it sounds like my voice is very loud. Is it
It,
It's not loud enough.
not loud enough?
yeah.
Can you get closer to
It
your
sounds
mic?
like you're,
Well, okay, I'm gonna turn my hearing aid down because it influences my talking. Now, am I talking better?
Yeah.
Can you hear me better?
yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. Um, within a framework of our ministry, we have a lot of people that have been involved in healing. Nurses, medical doctors, shamans, Indians, all aspects of life. We attract people interested in like what you're doing and doing healing work and know that you make a difference. That's part of our task and honoring presence of people that are honoring the God within them by doing what they know is correct for them. And we know that there's no one answer, so we love the diversification and application of what we do. Now, Olivia, you said you like structure. So when you do your healing work, do you use any formula of structure?
I go in with the intention to heal, and then I let intuition take over.
Yeah. Yes, that's wonderful because I think for most of us that have learned the art of healing, we probably started out with some principles and practices that intellectually we use to like learn anything, sports. And then when we learn it, we let go of what we learned and find out we can do it intuitively like you're doing. That's marvelous. That's what we'd all all like to be, walk in those shoes where we understand that our intuition is our direct communication with source that's right within us. So
And I think that's with me, I understand that it's not me. I'm the shell that's being moved by something else other than myself.
yeah,
Because I don't know what this person needs. The higher source knows what this person needs, and it's just using me to be the channeler.
yeah.
Exactly.
Emerson put it this way: you get your bloated nothingness out of the way. That's how Emerson put it, and that's true. And that's how we become. Uh, that's true humility. You know, it's not false humility. It's true humility when we can get ourselves out of the way and be of service, uh, or be in a channel for that service. And that's exactly what you appear to be representing in your life. Um, so you jump from childhood to Reiki. What happened in between?
Um, Figuring out who I was, I guess. I started Reiki. I've been doing Reiki, let's see. I'm coming up on 20 years. So I started Reiki in my early 20s. Um, so it has been a predominantly a big part of my life in small doses. When I was first introduced to it, I was level 1 for many, 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 many years. And I would use it in when I felt I was supposed to, or when it would turn itself on and I'm like, oh, obviously I'm supposed to be doing this thing, so I'll do this thing. Um, there's definitely that figuring out myself because I'm trying to like, how do you go from how do you sum up 20 years in a short little space? Um, from adolescence to Reiki being a prominent part of my life, I've become a mother. I have gone to school. I have changed careers multiple times, but with always the desire to be more on that spiritual path that keeps seeming to call me towards being a healer and doing the things that I feel the happiest, like that pure joy of doing, not just I have to go to work, I have to do these things so that I can survive and I can take care of my family. The Reiki aspect of my life or the spiritual parts of my life bring me true joy.
Good.
And it's
So the part of your life that supports you and your family, how do you make a living?
currently I work as an affiliate of Pfizer as a training and compliance. So I make sure that people are appropriately trained in the job that they have.
Wonderful. So you get paid for doing that.
Mhm.
You like to do it.
It's a good job. I don't have to interact with a lot of people. And the people that I do interact with, I do enjoy, which is a bonus. Um, so I don't feel as drained. I feel that that I don't have to always give.
You know, know that people in the healing field, uh, certainly each of us needs to find a way of providing for our daily bread, our sustenance, our home, our shelter, our vehicles. We all need that. And however that we come about doing that is there's a there's like a guiding force that in our lives whether we realize it or not, that tends to help us find our employment, uh, how to support and sustain our families. And it may not feel spiritual, but it certainly is, because all life has a means of expressing itself. And we just get like the acorn, right? The acorn, you know it's going to turn into a beautiful surviving oak tree. And so what our endeavor, I believe, as individuals, is to find that seed within ourselves and bring it forth into expression. And that difference between us and plants is that sometimes we have many seeds, we have many opportunities to express in different activities, whatever they are, whether it's a parent or a housewife or president of a company, whatever that is wonderful. And I understand, like you do, when I was doing healing work, I want to find a means of support other than getting paid for healing. But then there are practitioners that are like nurses that are able to support themselves and still do righty on their patients in the hospital if they so desire. So what brought you into our ministry?
I had known Paula. Paula is also one of my Reiki teachers. There's a push every year to get me back on this one path that I know I'm supposed to be on, and life keeps taking me off of it. And every year it tries to get me back. And something about this past 2 years, it was no, okay, stop getting your detours and just stay on this path. What is it that you need to do to continue on this path? And I realized that I am not very good at solo learning. I need to be around others of like minds so that I can learn from them as well. So I had reached out to Paula and said, I am at that point now that I'm ready to take the next steps. I'm done being stagnant and I need to take the next steps, and taking the initiative to branch out and experience new things so that I can learn what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, which has now led me to you guys, where I love being around like-minded people and listening to stories and learning from other people's experiences as well.
Yes.
So it's a
That's one of the
community. I was
values.
looking for a community.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of the values of our coming together across the world on our little channel here on Zoom to share our experiences and support one another. You know, we used to meet fairly regularly, at least once a year in different locations. And that was wonderful, because maybe you'd spend 3 or 4 days with like-minded people, and would have all kinds of ceremonies and celebrations. And there's like a magic in that. In lieu of that, we're doing this. I hope someday we're able to, well, in some situations, we're able to meet, like in Connecticut, there might be 3 or 4 people that get together, or in Arizona, wherever, that's fine. But we used to have large congregations that would come to like Sedona. Sedona's kind of a magical place in itself. It's on one of the ley lines, produces a lot of energy. But this is the best we have to offer right now. And we love supporting people like you, and you supporting us by joining us and sharing your life and your experiences. I was recollecting, that in our organization, we've had people from circuses, from construction, we've had shamans, we've had Indian chiefs, we've had physicists, we've had death counselors, we've had hospice, we've had a lot of nurses. But by and large, the thing that kind of characteristically brings us together is our desire to serve. And what I've discovered is the more we come from the depth of who we are, like you were mentioning earlier, it's humility. And oftentimes, if we get into trouble, it's because we think, we're doing it. It's not the spirit of life within us that's doing the work. We take personalized credit for it. And that usually ends in some type of suffering until we come back to the realization that the spirit that animates us is animating everyone and everything. And so, when we talk about Easter Sunday coming up, we're talking about redemption. What are we redeeming? We're redeeming the sense of divineness that's within us. And it's something not to ignore. It's something to appreciate. And when we find it within ourselves, then we can appreciate it in others and in all creation, whether it's a bush or a tree or an animal or another person. And the other thing is, there are a number of people like Paula in our ministry that do instruct. They offer teaching and encouragement, and that's wonderful. And I hope that continues ad infinitum. So, Olivia, I really appreciate your joining us and sharing your life story with us. Is there something else you'd like to share?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
It's one of those I'm still new and getting to know everybody, so it's tend to be more of the shy, quiet person that likes to listen and learn more and then go, oh, we have this in common. Can I talk to you about this?
Olivia, if I may, the whole time that you were talking, you have a heart on the top of your head. The whole time you're talking, and just listening to your words, you have a compassionate heart. But I think the reason I was seeing the heart was maybe to remind you that you're following your heart and the work that you do and the lives that you touch in doing the Reiki work, and you're listening. Like you said, you were ready. You were ready to make the next step. You were ready to embrace something else that could further you in as far as the being that you are doing the work that you do. So I just want to share that with you. It was very beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a long path to get to that point where I feel that I'm worthy to be where I am now. I have learned lots of lessons, and now it's the continuing of the lessons, but it's the accepting, oh, that was what I was supposed to learn. I can now take that information and learn something new within that same path, but without going, okay. And it's shifting, lots of mental shifting between getting out of my head and following my heart, because my logic brain likes to take over and my ego likes to tell me to sit still.
But your heart is where the truth lies. Always remember that.
Yeah, Cindy, your great comments and observations, wonderful. And what I'd like to, from what you're
Thank you, Charlie.
sharing, Olivia, is a dilemma. The dilemma is the wrestling between I'm not good enough and only God's good enough. So if I turn to God, I can do God's work. And so the way to end that restlessness or the devaluation of oneself, the ego, our ego, well, another way to look at it, if we say God is the ultimate ego, God's got the ultimate will, but we have little wills. We express little wills. We're little pieces. We're individualizations of God. And that God encourages us to let our individualization out, let our light shine. And so when we find ourselves in a situation where we're lost because we're devaluating ourselves because we want to be more humble, well, that's false humility. We don't want false humility. We want to recognize that divinity is in all of us. And that is never diminished. It's never belittled. It's never not enough. It's always enough. And that love and light certainly is within you, and you've discovered that and using Reiki. And as you discover letting go of your sense of not being enough, that's not bad. That's your what you're doing is you're honoring the presence of God in yourself and your individualized expression of God. Does that help?
Mhm. Yes. And you had asked before if there's anything else that I wanted to add. I am trying to learn how to understand and work with my guides. If there's anyone that has any tips, I'm on baby steps. When I do Reiki, I definitely tune in, but not, it's more of a feeling and a shifting of movements, not necessarily true understanding. And I feel like it kind of goes in with the whole, sorry, my brain just stopped working because there's too many thoughts going. um,
You're doing fine.
I think we've had some instruction from Terry on her, fourth Sunday each time, where she's teaching us to ask our guides, is this a yes or a no? Is this a pendulum that's going to give you the answers to that? Those sorts of things I think are helpful.
yeah, that is one of the things that I will do because when I do Reiki, I will oftentimes feel something on my own body. And then it's that initial question of, is this mine or theirs?
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
theirs. Okay. Do I need to work on this right now, or can I wait till I get to that space? And times it's no, go right now. And other times it's like, no, you can wait. But I think part of it is learning to trust myself and know that this is not always my mind making things up.
Exactly. No,
Olivia, that is always part of the journey. This is Katrina. When I do Reiki, I always ask my guides in the beginning for their assistance. And sometimes my clients will say they feel another set of hands. And then with you, you'll have something that pops into your mind. Trust it. It may be a voice, it may be a feeling, it may be just a word. And the more you trust it and go with it, the more it will build your confidence. It is just, it's different for everyone. But the more you do it, the more it will happen. Just let go and get out of your head. Is this real, or should I trust this? Right? It takes, I'm like you, I've been doing
Yep.
this for many years, but the more I just trust it and go with that flow, the stronger it is. You're already in the current. You're already in the current, and like, you know this. Just go with it.
Recently, I've had the experience where I've had the client go, I know you were there, but I felt you over here. And I was like, oh, well, that was one of my guides jumping in to just help out. That's all.
Absolutely.
And it's a very, I love the feeling of being able to sit and talk to somebody afterwards and hear what it is that they felt. Because I can do an entire session and not feel anything. I can just go through the motions. And because sometimes I feel that either I'm not in the right headspace or there's just nothing for me to do, but it's not about me anyways. So it's just okay. But then there's other times where like they'll say, oh, your hands were hot, or it was super cold here, or I saw these colors, or I felt this thing. Um, and I think it's that me dropping a phone, working or speaking with others who also do it to hear their experiences, because I feel like I am kind of in a smaller knit group where I don't have a lot of other people that have experience with or do it on a regular basis.
Yeah. So the one thing I will say to you is, like, when I say you're in the current and you know that we channel this energy anyway, your guides don't work, they work in tandem with you, right? So whatever you're doing, they're like an extension of you and everything that you're doing. And it's such like a beautiful flow. Just imagine you're in this beam of light, for example, and that there's extra hands that are here and there and everywhere, but they're not always somewhere else. Sometimes they're right over yours, right? Just giving you that extra
Okay.
energy and that extra push. And sometimes they're over at the feet while you're at the head, or in the middle in different places. Like, it's something that's working with, right? So it's just sometimes you feel it in a different place and sometimes you don't, but they're always there. Sometimes looking over your shoulder when you're doing everything that you need, and sometimes when you need that extra, that's what they'll do, right? But it's always there for you.
Olivia, you might enjoy one of the greatest healers in the United States in the 20th century is a lady called Olga Worrell. You might want to write that down. She's written a
Okay.
couple of books that you might find helpful. Um,
I'll go Boral. Okay.
and what? And she was also a very gifted psychic. She and her husband did a lot of healing work, especially in the Minnesota area uh, where they live. But and you're talking about level of confidence. What she makes very clear in her communications is whether you're feeling a glow or feeling energy or not, you're still doing the work. And that's the important thing. You follow through with doing the work. And sometimes, yes, what you get a sense of energy flow, or maybe you see colors, or you get a confirmation that God's doing it through you. God's never leaving you. So even in your ordinary kind of work, we don't feel that. If you're not seeing the lightning bolts and thunder, if you're not getting the feedback from somebody saying, "Oh, it's wonderful," you're still doing work, and it's all God's
That
work,
was
and it's all good.
that was very early on when I started going for my second and master levels in Reiki. I kind of gave up on the reassurance. I know that I'm doing this. I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I have faith that it's doing the thing that it's supposed to do. So I think now that I'm getting a little bit more of the affirmations or like confirmations, either from others or something, that it's a new adjustment.
Yeah. Well, you come to the right source and being part of the ministry. So people like Cindy can
Mhm.
help maybe you along your path. But our path is we're helped all the time, whether we know it or not. And you know, that's why I recommended this book by Olivia Worrell. She has several books out there, and she went. They performed tests, clinical tests on her healing energy and power of God expressing its life. So, like 300 miles away from where she lived, they would have two flats of plants, all the same. Plant A, plant B, same plants, same growth. She would pray over one of them, and clinically, that plant would grow faster and healthier. That's evidence, scientific evidence that of the power of prayer and Reiki energy and healing. And this was repeated time and time again in different countries. They tested this out. She went to the largest hospital in Washington. What's it called? I forgot what it's called now. Huge hospital. And she was going in, I think a young boy or something had cancer or something. And so she was in there with the doctor. And afterwards, she pulled the doctor aside in the hallway and said, "You do not have the right to declare life or death." The doctor was trying to prepare the boy for death, not for life. Now, that's how confident she is and who she is, and how she moves and has her being. This is a great example. But, so books or teachers, whether they're present or not, whether they're angels or archangels, whether they're divine guides, whether they're right here and now, like people like Cindy and Laura, who share from their heart. It's all God's stuff. It's all guidance. And we give thanks for that. We appreciate your opening it up and sharing your vulnerability and sharing your life's work of 18 years of doing Reiki. And we sure look forward to continuing being part of our society, part of our Madonna Interfaith community.
Thank you, Charlie.
Olivia, where do you live now?
What was that?
Where do you live now?
I'm in Connecticut.
You are.
Okay.
Like,
Well, we should get together.
Where in Connecticut are you?
There's a
Ledyard?
group of us in Connecticut.
Oh,
We should
she's
get,
in Ledyard.
yeah.
It's not far.
Not currently, but yes.
Okay.
I'm in Manchester.
Okay.
I'm in Stafford.
Katrina's
So,
in Manchester. So we should get together.
No, absolutely. I would love that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Olivia. This is B.
Hi,
You
B.
mentioned, yeah, you mentioned earlier that you're a mom of three, and I was wondering what spiritual lessons do you get from being a mom, and what are the big spiritual lessons that you try to give to your children as a mother?
That's actually kind of interesting because I've never been married. My oldest child is mine Um, and the first time as a teenager that I did Reiki on her, because father is very anti-spiritual anything. Um, so she kind of picked up on that and was more of I'm not quite sure. I think that's all fake. It's not real. The first time that I ever sat down and did a small session on the child where they were aware that I was doing Reiki with them, not just say, "Oh, you're not feeling good. Here, let's snuggle on the couch and I'll do this thing." Um, she was shocked at because it was just sitting in a chair and I started at her head and I wasn't touching her and I went from her head to her shoulders and she kept thinking, like putting her hand up over her head, going, "I can feel you touching me, but you're not touching me." And then by the end of it, it was whoa, what else can you do? I'm like, well, um, um, so that's my son is very open to Reiki and very open to the spiritual aspects because I don't know, I grew up in a Christian household. My parents, when we were closer and we would go for holidays and whatnot, or go for the weekend, I would always offer the children if they wanted to go to church, they were welcome to go. If they didn't want to go, they didn't have to go, just so that they could have that experience themselves. Growing up, it was you have to go every Sunday.
Mhm.
And my sisters and I found ways to not go, but still make it look like we went because it wasn't, it was well, if you guys aren't going, why are we going? Um, but yeah, my spiritually with my kids, I have learned a lot from them and learned how to be a better person because of them, because of the things that they've taught me.
Mm.
Um, but I still kind of leave it up to them to go in which direction they want to go, because I feel that spirituality is very, you have to go with what
Personal.
feels right to you. It's
Mm.
very personal.
Yeah.
Um, and I can respect all of them. And I think that they're all beautiful in their own right, but there's definitely pulls in different directions for different things. I don't know if I really answered your question there, B.
Yes, you did.
It all
You
makes
did.
sense what you said. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Olivia, how does it, sometimes it's hard for me to reconcile, military and war. You know, I wouldn't have gone in the military if I wasn't forced to. And I sure in the hell didn't want to kill anybody, but they were training me to be a killer. That's what they do. Now, you admire your father, who's very disciplined. That's one thing the military is very good at teaching discipline.
Mhm.
So, are you able to reconcile that, people have different paths and one of it might be the military and that's okay.
it, Everybody's path is singular, though. Like, yes, we might walk together, but everybody has their own soul path. If it's different than mine, that's awesome. If it's similar than mine and we can have a conversation, we can learn from each other, that's even like, that's great. But I don't, I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding the question.
Well,
Like
I'm
my dad
saying
was
that,
military.
people like in the military, I had trouble in the military. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to participate. I was forced to join it, but it's against my will. Um, I don't like the idea of creating war. I like the idea of creating peace. But at, at some point in my life, I had to reconcile I had to realize, quit fighting. From a spiritual perspective, nothing. The things that die seem like that's the end, and it's not. You know, but war seems to create a lot of tragedies, and it's hard to reconcile suffering and pain, cancer, all that stuff. So, as a human being that's on the spiritual path, how do you reconcile that? Or do you even try to reconcile?
I don't know if I understand the question, Charlie. Could you concise that, like in a few words? What reconcile what versus what exactly?
Well, okay. I'm trying, in my military experience, I detested it. I didn't want it, but I was forced to do it. I fought it until eventually I was able to reconcile with myself. I don't have to fight it. I can go with the flow. And that made my life a lot easier and better. I didn't have to. I don't know how to phrase that any better than I had a trouble like with my older brother who was always doing things that were against my belief system. Um, you know, stealing from my mother, getting his wife's girlfriend pregnant time and time again, this type of thing. So I detested that kind of expression of life. But until later years, I was able to reconcile with my brother on a heart-to-heart basis. And I don't walk in his moccasins, so I should never have judged him, but I did. So I guess the question is, we all judge, and sometimes we need to reconcile and give up our serious judgments to rediscover the flow of God within us. That makes sense? That's what I mean by reconciliation, to give up what is getting in the way of our full potential. And it's usually a negative experience that our frame of mind and our attitude. So in order to do an attitude adjustment often requires reconciliation of forgiveness. Does that make sense? Better sense? I don't know how to explain it
Does.
differently.
Well, it's self. It's you thinking. Reconciliation would be the taking yourself out of the equation. It's not, I can get along with just about anyone because if I find myself being judgmental towards them, it's what are they reflecting back at me that I don't like about myself? Because they don't, another person's life is not my own. I haven't lived their life. I don't know what it is that's causing them to act the way that they're acting. So how can I judge them if I haven't lived their life? Does that make sense? Like it's like with your brother, it was your brother. Like I have a sister that I don't always like the choices that she makes. I don't understand them, but because I don't understand them, that doesn't make it, I don't have to agree with them because they're not my choices. As long as it doesn't hurt somebody else, they can choose to live the way that they want to live.
So I guess another question I'd be asking, and I think that's wonderful. That's an excellent approach to life. Have there been any instances of life where reconcile, where you've had to forgive or to move on to express your fullness of life?
Um, yeah, I think that part of my life has been to reconcile and go, okay, well, I don't fit into this mold. So I'm going to step out of this mold and create a new mold that is more me and let go of that old mold because it wasn't serving who I wanted to be.
Wonderful. That's an excellent example of enlightenment. You break through the old mold, the old belief system that's restricting us in our growth. That's a perfect example of enlightenment, to lighten up, to let go of the crusty old mold that's moldy, and, and let go of that no longer serves us. And we form a new belief system, perhaps larger and better serves where we are in our life struggle. Well, thank you. You really shared with us who you are and what you're about, why you've joined our ministry, and we look for your providing us with more help along the way because we can use it.
I have one
I'm
last
here.
question for you, Olivia.
Yeah, babe.
What do you see your spiritual path is going forward into the future? What do you see for yourself?
Ooh, better things, happiness, like lots and lots of learning. I feel that like learning. A lot of my path, I think at this moment is learning because I think ultimately at some point I will shift to teacher because I think I need to learn more so that I can be better informed and experienced to be able to help others. Because I'm not like I've been a preschool teacher. I am not a teacher in the sense of like I can get in up in front of somebody and teach, but I can sit with somebody and I can listen and I can help guide. And I think that's ultimately, I think maybe that's where it's going, that at some point I would like to help guide others so that they don't have to go through all, if they can skip the hard stuff. I would like to help them skip the hard stuff, kind of like being a parent, where it's these are the mistakes that I made. If you don't do these mistakes, you can kind of get to this point faster, but you're still going to make mistakes. So know that like there's still a learning curve, but we can get rid of some of this craziness if possible.
Ease the pain of
So spiritually,
mistakes.
yes. Well, or at least like better prepare them to go. Like, I use my oldest as the best because I watch them go, oh, I should have listened to you. I'm like, well, it's not that you should have listened to me. I was trying to let you know that there are easier routes because I took every hard route you could possibly imagine because I had to learn it the hard way. That's the way that my brain works, and that's the way that I learn. Like, do the hard thing first and go, oh, I spent 6 hours doing this way, but if I had heard and not just listened, I could have done it in an hour and saved myself 5 hours to do other things.
What you bring up is an excellent point. One of the greatest psychologists of our time So there's two ways to learn. One is through suffering, which you've demonstrated, and the other is through elucidation, which means you've redeemed yourself from a prior situation, or you let go of the broke out of the old mold. And the last thing I want to say, one of the greatest benefits of our group, our society, is that we help empower people to bring forth something like, if your desire was to be a Reiki teacher, to bring forth that unfulfilled desire into experience through ceremony and celebration. And that's one of our greatest gifts to each other, is that's why we have 3 levels of ordination or consecration, because we're gathering together to honor the presence of God that in that person that wants to break out of a mold and experience something new and different that will help them serve. That's one of our greatest contributions. I think I don't know others that put so much energy out in doing that, but that was the whole purpose of Arnold Michael when he developed the Madonna ministry, was to come up with a sacrament of empowerment. And empowerment is honoring the presence of God in a person that wants to achieve our unfulfilled desire. And we honor that in such a way that we energize it. And that's a part of our gift as a community.
It's a good gift.
It's been a marvelous interview, and I think if anyone else have any questions, Olivia. Kevin, you've been very quiet.
Yeah, I really found this conversation interesting and enlightening. I'm just curious, what was your grandfather, the grandfather who was the pastor, what was his denomination?
Protestant.
No, but what Protestant? What
Um,
version of Protestantism?
I would have to find out actually.
Oh, okay.
Like, because for me, it was always just I loved going to his sermons. Um, um, I will get back to you on that
Okay. I'm
because it
just
like
curious. That's all. Yeah.
no, I will absolutely I will tell you next week because I have one of his Bibles. I know I can probably find out when it comes. All right, I think that's also the other thing. It's like with religion, there are so many different breakdowns. Baptist. I will find out for you.
Yeah, there are. It's like Ben and Jerry's ice cream. There are so many
I
different
did.
flavors.
They're really well because I'm also trying to think of the different churches that he was in to see if there was something or if I'm crossing it over between the churches that I used to go with my parents. So I will find out what he was. But he also used to drive a beer truck. So
Oh, then he wasn't Baptist.
So,
yeah,
what
that
do we
was
have anything going on for next week? Anything planned?
Next week is Easter, so anybody that wants to step in and do some kind of presentation is more than welcome.
Maybe we could color Easter eggs.
Yeah, or we could each share our experience of what it means to celebrate Easter if we do.
Would
Because
you
in
like
the
to lead us in that discussion?
I suppose I could.
Sure you
I,
could.
I come from the land of commercialization, and coloring Easter eggs was a big role rather than what was true.
I used to buy the plastic eggs and fill them with different things
There you go. Yeah,
for my
that's more
grandkids.
creative. Awesome. All right.
I probably won't be here though. I think we're doing brunch.
Ah, okay.
Probably won't be around. Not sure yet.
Okay. Sending healing energies your way.
Thank you.
Kiss those ribs. All right. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you so much. Olivia, it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a good week.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good week.
Have a good week,
Bye.
guys.